So what's it about then?
Sorry?
Basically, I was going to do some short stories this year because I needed to get back into just doing straight drama after working as a journalist. I went up to a friend's house, Ashlyn, who is the writer of the film.
Oh, come on, you know I love a good story.
I said, Ash, I'm going to do a load of short, kind of erotic stories or sexually charged stories in Hampstead Heath.
Not a hint of originality.
And we were talking away and having a laugh. He's a very old friend of mine. And in the end, we suddenly realised that if we did 7 stories at about 10 or 12, 13 minutes long, we've got the length of a feature film.
You've surprised me.
Well, I don't know what to think about that.
The only kind of conditions I said to Ash were, 1, it has to be outside. 2, the stories have to be able to be filmed within 2 or 3 days. Secondly, there'd be no props, no stunts, no big set builds. So the film was designed from the very beginning as a low-budget film. And the advantage of that, we also realised, was that we could get actors who were very good actors because we would only need them for 2 or 3 days, so we could work around their schedules.
I find this very comforting.
It was that kind of if we build it, they will come kind of thing, and it will get made. So if we attract the talent, if we attract the crew, if we can get everyone involved, everything else being equal, if the script's right, it will go. There's no better motivator than that.
And how did you decide to do it in the first place?
This is great.
No, I'm interested because how
me.
did you decide to... Because obviously there must have been something happening before it started being written, so what was that process?
Ash, the writer, I've known for 25 years, and I said, listen, this is what I'm going to do, just to, kick-start things, because I was trying to get another film off the ground. And it was then, literally at the end of that conversation, Ash turned around and said, I've got the title, Scenes of a Sexual Nature.
You grow up watching films, TV, and it's this warning at the head of a drama, beware, this contains scenes of a sexual nature. So when this came up and we kind of talked notionally about the kind of subject matter that we wanted to write about, I remembered this title and went, that is what we should call it. There's no sex in it, who cares?
And then the next day, he turned up and he'd been thinking about it. And there was something mulling in his brain. And he turned up in my kitchen the next day and said, here are the 7 stories. The deal was I promised Ash, if he wrote the script, come what may, I would make the film, I would produce and direct it.
Now and again, it's just good to do something. And I think that was the thing that was inspiring about this project from beginning to end, which was quick.
There's more to life than thoughts. There's actions. Yeah, what sort of actions are playing on your mind?
I've spent years walking around London Park. I love London parks. I find them really fascinating places, and they're kind of where people go to, well, obviously to relax, to meet, but I always find them really sexually charged places. I think that's where people go when they have affairs.
Do you come here often?
Is that the best you have?
Yes, I'm afraid it is, yes.
Oh.
I lived in London for, 20-something years. I would always go to Hampstead Heath and was always intrigued by people there. When you sit on a bench for a while and just watch people walk by and wonder what's going on in their lives.
And I love the fact that you can sort of project, like you do when you're sitting on a park bench. You think, well, if that life is about that, if I've cast them in this role in life, what's going to happen to them next? And the same with each of these little stories. You wonder you can project what's going to happen next to them.
Shall I be mummy?
Why not?
My aim as a director was to try to create a film which gave the idea or the sensation that there is an oasis right in the heart of London. So you have this extraordinary park, which is Hampstead Heath, which has these amazing vistas of this urban skyline. And yet at the same time, when you walk into the park, it's very peaceful and it's very beautiful. So what I wanted to do is to give an idea that this was a place where people go to talk about their emotions. And I wanted to create this feeling that it was a very enclosed and safe environment. So we never shot from the city looking in. It was always looking out. And also in terms of the colours and the look of it, I wanted it to feel very English.
So hopefully then across the board of it, the broad scope of it, there's a lot of thematic things for people to think about, and hopefully it will stay with them, and hopefully it will cause a few marriages and a few divorces. No, nothing more than that.
Aisling had finished the script in June in 2005, and I'd set a date for filming in August. So one of my main tasks was to try to get the script to actors' agents and get the agents to read the script, so that I would have a chance of getting some good talent on board. And that's where Emma Stile came in.
I thought that it was a really good script and we had a very good chance of making it.
And then at the end of the meeting, with her, she literally grabbed me at the end of the meeting and said, right, we're off for our first pitching session. And for the next 10 days, we just pitched to agents.
I know that sending an unfinanced script from a first-time writer, first-time director, it's almost impossible to get people to read them. So to just say, can I have an appointment? I'm bringing a director to see you. And then their next question is, can they read the script? And the answer is no. They're like slavering at that point.
We convinced the agents that, one, the actors would only be needed for 2 days. Secondly, that if any of them got big Hollywood films, that they could drop our film. And thirdly, it will be favoured nations, which means that all the actors, principal actors, would be treated exactly the same. And really the core to it, in terms of getting the cast, was Ash's script, which was just beautifully written, very funny, quite moving, but very acute with the observation of all these different characters.
My friend Aisling Ditter wrote the script, and his friend, who is also my friend Ed Blum, directed it.
Catherine and I go back a long way. I write with her on the Catherine Tate show, but I thought, well, you know, it would be great to ask her. And obviously, I talked to Ed about it, and we decided that she'd be an asset to the film because she's a brilliant, brilliant actor.
It required nothing more than having this honest dialogue with another actor, and that was an enormous attraction to me.
I read lots of scripts, I suppose, all the time. Normally, film scripts, people are being blown up or having explosions every 3 minutes, and I just thought it was a fabulous script.
The reason I came on board was because of the script. The script was excellent. When I read it, I believed that Aisling had caught every tricky conversation I'd ever had.
Well, I got involved because of the script, that was it. The writing was very good. I think the whole idea of the film, that it was being made at all, really appealed to me. I like the kind of ballsiness of it, you know.
Well, it was just the first time in ages that I'd read a script that, in that cliche, leapt off the page, and I immediately wanted to know what happened next with each of them. So I just found it very engaging straight away.
And as soon as the first actor came on board, Hugh Bonneville, and agreed to do it for equity minimum, which is the lowest amount you can pay an actor, it kind of set the ball rolling.
Hugh Bonneville happens to be one of those people that other actors really respect his work, and if he came on, then we already knew that Gina would come on because she said she wanted to work with him again.
If Gina hadn't been able to do it, I don't think I would.
Sophie was doing it.
Because they said he was doing it.
I like that.
OK, I'd like to just get this right out in the open here. It was a complete load of subterfuge by all the agents. When I read the script and I said, yeah, it's terrific, who else is on board? And my agent very carefully worded it. Well, other people in the frame are. And stop there. That's when they mentioned 3 or 4 names. I said, that's fine, I'll do it. Of course, that then became, well, Hugh Bonneville's doing it, so let everyone else, you know. So it was a complete con.
I did start to think, wow, this is a dream come true, that on your first film you're getting not just superstars, but you're getting a group of actors who are famous and brilliant actors. So as a director, it put a lot more pressure on me in a strange way, because you realised you would never get this chance to direct this group of actors. They brought to the table a fantastic feast in terms of their imagination. The script was finished in the middle of June. We had an investors' evening on the 13th of July. So at this point we only had, I think it was Hugh Bonneville and Gina McKee attached. And we had no money in the bank, no crew, no location. And I did a pitch, Aisling, the writer, did a pitch, and Vadim Jean did a pitch.
Ed made a really very good presentation, telling the story of the film and how the film was going to be structured. And I think I would hope that at that meeting, you know, when I stood up and said that would have given some people some confidence that somebody who's made a few films, you know, and particularly low-budget films, had the confidence in the script and in Ed to actually say, OK, well, if he's doing it, then maybe there might be something in it.
At the end of that investors' evening, we raised a third of the money, and then I approached another individual who I knew was looking to get into the film business, and this is Saran Gunatelaki, who came on board as the exec producer, and he put in the rest of the 2/3 of the money.
You know, I think there's something within Saran where he really likes to shake, you know, the industry up. He's done it with fashion, and I think with the film industry, he also wanted to break the rules.
I loved the script, I liked the humour, I liked the fact it was based in London, I liked the details, if you like, of the story. And really, I also liked the way I think that Ed was conceiving the project, that, you know, that half the project was actually owned by the cast and crew.
What I thought was fantastic about the investors as well was that they all came on board before the cast was announced. So it was based on the script principally, but also the presentation.
The pitch document which Ed sent had a classic first line, which I still remember. It's sex and love, some seek it, some need it, some spurn it, some pay for it, but we're all involved in it. And the project has just had a maverick feel from the very outset.
What I did was split the budget in two. So I said I'm going to raise £120,000 to get the film in the can and do a video edit. And then I was going to show that video edit to the investors, and if they were happy, then we'd raise the rest of the money to complete the film.
When I went to that first video cut, you know, it's a big moment, and I was absolutely delighted. And I was ready to invest further.
It would have been incredibly unfair to those investors to suddenly turn around and say, oh, we've got Ewan McGregor and we've got Sophie Okonedo and we've got, you know, this incredible cast, now it's going to be £1 million. And funny enough, it wouldn't have got made, I don't think, because it would have gone into development, you would have had to set up a massive big structure, you're setting up a, you know, and we just said, no, it's 120. And I think that the reason it happened so quickly was because we set a date for filming, we had the money in the bank and we could go.
We realised that about 2 or 3 days before we were shooting, we've raised the money to shoot it. We'd got a top-notch British cast on board. We'd secured locations. And myself and Amanda Wilkie, who was the co-producer, we just realised that within 12 days, we'd put this film together.
I think what we've achieved in the time that we've got and the resource we have and the people that we've done it with, then I just think it's amazing that, you know, everyone's come to this with the right attitude and it's worked.
We've got cast coming in left, right and centre. We've got trying to establish the financial structure of the company, the A and B shares. At the same time, we're bringing crew on, sourcing equipment, checking locations, getting permission for locations, doing deals for locations. So without doubt, it was the maddest 2 weeks of my life.
On the first day of the shoot, it was an extraordinary moment when I turned up at Kenwood House, and there was 30 members of the crew there, all eating their breakfast, waiting for the director to give orders.
I do think it was a remarkable collaborative effort. People just getting really, really totally involved in it.
Hey, it's good fun. The camera team were fantastic. David Meadows was particularly pleasant to work with. Ash, thanks for writing it. As I said to him the other day, please keep writing stuff, otherwise there's nothing for us to shoot.
That was what was so interesting about it, is that, you know, I've never had third ADs come up to me and go, I really enjoyed the script. Because you know, meet, and you're all afraid of each other a little bit. And I think that was really important about this project, that I think comes through on the screen.
Thank you. Settle. Set. And action.
So by your maths, that's what, 50 a week?
Oh, Christ, I've just come.
Jamie!
Oh, and another.
Shut up! People will start staring.
It's Hampstead Heath. They think you're weird if you're not having sex. Oh, and another.
You got the sense in this film that everyone was just kind of pitching in and doing it. And I guess they were doing it for the film, you know what I mean? Because everyone had read it and thought, this is great, let's try and make this happen.
We brought, you know, 4 or 5 of the guys from the some of the dancers from Guys and Dolls came to be the other guys sitting around. And it was nice for them because they'd never been involved in the making of a movie, so they learned a lot by being able to watch. And the crew's tiny, it's very tiny, and so you know who everyone is. And we only had 3 days on it, so it was nice to know everyone's name by the end.
For everyone that was there, their position was a step up from their norm. And when you move people up, they will hopefully turn up with 150%, and everyone did, which is great.
It was very, very special. And the fact that it hardly rained, it was a miracle.
Rather than do 2 consecutive days, do a Sunday and a Tuesday, because you
That's
had
right.
something on a Monday, you had the line run, didn't you? On Monday
Yeah,
afternoon?
line run. You have to be there for the line run.
And thank heaven we did, because am I right in thinking that it was sunny on the Sunday, pour with rain on the Monday, sunny on the Tuesday?
The nature of this script, you've got God as the set designer, really. You've got trees and shrubs and bushes. God is the lighting designer, sunlight.
Today's been very frustrating with the rain. There you go.
But luckily we got the 10 pages yesterday.
Yes,
which is a bit unheard of.
Plus, we had to stop every minute and a half for the planes.
Yeah, I know. If we had not shot on the Zoom, I don't think we would have had the speed to be able to shoot the film. To be shooting 6 minutes a day, even on doc drama, is pretty fast, because 3 minutes a day is the norm.
In a movie, you'd never usually be called upon to play that length in one stretch. But whenever I have done in the past, it's been great because it becomes like being in the theatre, really. And the challenge of acting on film is to keep the realism in what you're doing while you're chopping it up into tiny sections. So if you get a chance to actually play through the scene from start to finish, it makes your job easier, in fact.
Kids. Kids. Do you think you could maybe not shout the word kids while we're sitting here? People might think we're teachers or something.
I'm serious.
While it could have been quite static, you know, these are all two-handers. I tried to get some movement into the film, people walking or the camera moving. But I wanted to use camera moves which were very subtle, which hopefully helped tell the story or tell the emotion within those stories, but didn't make the viewer aware that the camera was moving.
So why not go for a mid-shot, but keep the track going all the way? At some point, you may just hit that magic moment.
My main aim was to make it as cinematic as I could, but as a director it was really to get the tone of the performances spot on, making sure that the performances by the actors were within a certain tonal range which I wanted this film to encompass.
It was really exciting because I knew that the standards were going to be high. And then I got there and I was really scared, actually. I was really, really frightened. I did my best, and I would definitely tell my family that they should see it, and my friends they should see it, because I think it's fun. And I felt it was good, and my friends that came to see it said that was good, and they left the movie feeling good. And that's a result, you know, that's a proper result.
My name's Noel.
No.
Yeah, as in Gallagher.
And Edmonds.
You're influenced by the other scenes that you've been watching. I mean, that's kind of what's fantastic about the film, is that although the scenes are independent, there's not even really one through line, but sitting them all together, just they all kind of influence each other.
I think it's a film that, you know, a lot of people will enjoy because it's not aiming at any lowest common denominator or any particular type of audience. It's just lovely stories, I think.
I agree.
And it's got Hugh McGregor in it. It's exciting.
Someone said it was like having a glass of champagne when they left. Watching the film was like having a glass of champagne, and, you know, it leaves you thinking about a lot of things you mull over, but not in a heavy-handed way.
It's funny and moving, and it's very subtle and enjoyable.
What's fantastic about the film is that nothing happens. And what's fantastic about the film is that everything happens. Everything that matters happens.
Okay, play that. I mean, I'm not thinking about shagging in the bushes. It's the maestro at work. Come on.
It was a project which seemed to happen very quickly and very suddenly, and Ed rang me up via Vadim and said, would you like to be involved?
My grandfather always used to say to me, you stay in the game long enough, the cards will eventually turn up.
He's talking about staying in for long enough. How was the funeral? You had a good innings.
While they were shooting, I would say I was working a good 10-hour days, and then when we got into the editing with the director, it got much more intense.
I think my first impression when I saw the first cut of it is that I thought it didn't work in about 3 or 4 places. And I think that is probably when the start of my real involvement in the project started, obviously apart from the financing piece, if you like.
They need to be changed, but there's a structural change here. I don't think.
The contribution that I think I've made, I hope that I made, is just to say to Ed that I felt that the stories needed to intercut slightly more than they did in the script.
I hope it's all been worth it. All those choices we make.
Well, initially, you know, it was 7 stories, and I'd written them, and they weren't intercut. They were written so that they were just one story after the next.
And although that read really well, it didn't quite work as a film because it became very predictable. One story finished, the next one started, and so on.
Once everyone embraced the concept that we have to throw all these pieces up in the air and put them in the right intercutting order, that was the most difficult challenge, I think, for everybody.
In that sense, we were creating a narrative which perhaps wasn't there in the initial script.
We split Mark Strong into 3 scenes, possibly. Well, then just show me.
I think those chats afterwards with Ed and Vadim, finding solutions to those problems, I think that was very exciting.
Because it isn't a traditional narrative structure, you are asking the audience to kind of make a bit of a leap. The process to the final cut was a long one. We had lots of discussion about the best way to tell the story.
It's been a massive learning curve for me because I think you can realise that everything is possible once you decide to sort of let go.
A film can be changed quite significantly in the edit suite, and that process I found absolutely fascinating.
What I really enjoyed about working on this film is that everybody really cared. The inspiration for the music came from a sort of cliched idea that one could have, what this film could be about. And it's all these people having a great time in sunny Hampstead Heath. And so I think the music is okay to go with that for a while, and doesn't immediately need to go into the subtext. There's a Beatle inspiration. Now there's also, you know, funny things that the Beatles did, like using piccolo trumpet and things like that, you know, that are normally, you know, we wouldn't really associate with pop music, or you wouldn't associate with a romantic comedy. So it's throwing some things in there that don't quite fit. We used some vocals on a few pieces. We had the scene with the French girl sort of seducing the character, and it was, you know, going for a retro feel, like a 70s French film. So it's again sort of playing with these kind of cliches, but subverting it. And then we had male voices. For example, on that very last cue, which, you know, has a sort of Beach Boys feel to it. Again, quite retro, but also gives it a kind of slightly cheeky feel as well. And voices are always a great addition to soundtracks.
What are you looking for, Louis?
I'm looking for piss desperation, page 2.
Piss desperation is there.
Yeah, page 2.
You're going to publish it, Piss desperation.
We use violins in the soundtrack. They are extremely versatile. I think on 37, you can come down a notch, actually. Nowadays, it's all done with samples. When you have the real deal, it gives you a real emotion and a real life. We only had 9 violins, but it just sounds huge, and it gives immediately a great warmth to the music and also to the characters as well.
Ed, as you'll have understood by now, has taken on this extraordinary, ridiculous task of getting a film off the ground with pretty much no money. Then decided with his executive producers to do the even madder thing of trying to distribute the film themselves. I have nothing but admiration and a certain amount of suspicion for his sanity.
Saran Gunatalaki, there's two exec producers, Van John's the other guy, and basically looked at the distribution model that's in place at the moment and said, well, this is crazy. The people who took all the risk, who invested in the film first, are going to get paid second after the distributor, who can see the film, can see that it's got a great cast. Why are they getting their money back first?
I think I was quite shocked, and because essentially what the smaller distributors were telling us was that, you know, you've done this film, you should give it to us, and we're going to give you the privilege of putting this on the big screen in the cinemas, but actually you're never going to see a penny out of this film. So from my point of view, I just didn't feel the principle was correct. So essentially what we decided to do is to say that let's be really bold in this. We've done everything in this project against all odds, and I said, why not? Let's do the distribution ourselves. And we did it ourselves, but we did it smartly in that we hired some key consultants and put them together to create this virtual distribution company, which we called the Really Honest Little Distribution Company.
You could create a virtual distribution company. You could hire a publicist. You could hire a head of marketing. You could hire someone to book the cinemas. So the original investors get their money back first, and then all the other revenues don't go to the distributor, but they come into the cast and crew. And the cast and crew own 50% of the film, and the investors 50%. So there won't be any dispute about the distribution companies, you know, saying, well, actually, P&A actually cost this amount. It's already been set. That's the amount of money that has to be repaid. As soon as that money's repaid, we don't see another penny. In a way,
that is revolutionary, to have a transparent filtering down of cash revenue from a movie. It's very rare to have clarity on the murky world of film finance and film distribution and the revenue streams. I think it's a very exciting model to set up and to explore and be, you know, I mean, all eyes will be on you, Ed, to see how it works.
Just got the call from Martin Myers to say that Odeon and View like the film, which is fantastic. So it's definitely going to go into the cinemas, which is wonderful.
It wasn't easy getting the dates. It never is in this business, and actually it's getting harder and harder as we speak. Having various conversations with some of the major studios, they're also struggling to get dates. But, you know, eventually I gave Ed a list of 30, 40 cinemas I wanted to target, and in the end I did get those cinemas. I hanged out for those cinemas, we got them, and they were specific where I thought the film would work.
When you start the creative process with a film, you create the poster first of all, and all the other elements drop out of the main poster campaign.
The poster, I think, was very refreshing. It wasn't just a picture of the main actor with a load of quotes. Hold it up above the chair, here we go. Ladies and gentlemen, scenes of a sexual nature, the poster. Undressed. Oh, yes. Undressed, yeah?
It was a question of making everything work as hard as we possibly could. Ed is a great fan of what we call the blag, so negotiating things free of charge was a big part of what we did. Specifically things like a screening programme with a national newspaper, The Telegraph.
Very quietly, because I should be working, and Amanda's annoyed because I should be writing some copy because she needs to go home. But I just wanted to say we've got 15 screens previewing in conjunction with the Daily Telegraph newspaper, which is a huge, big daily newspaper in this country. It means that we get free adverts worth £20,000-30,000. We get loads of people to see the film before it opens, and it's a real coup. So I'm incredibly happy. Although she's not, so I better work.
There were lots of things that were really exciting because there was such an excitement generally in the office. You know, we felt that we had a small stone that was gathering huge interest.
Oh, wow. So that's...
And to have access to such a great cast, what a treat. To crack the television side of it, fantastic.
Joining me now are two of its stars, Tom Hardy and Hugh Bonneville. Sorry, it's lovely to see you boys, but I just had a vision there of people having sort of rampant sex on Hampstead Heath, which is another movie altogether.
Something you're familiar with?
No, sadly and tragically, no.
To be able to work in a press junket situation with the likes of Catherine Tate and Ewan McGregor.
It was the first thing I've ever done while I'm doing a play, because usually you're so protective of your time.
God, I've got panini in my mouth. I've been waiting to meet you for so long.
Panini.
Just genuinely wonderful people.
Gone very well though. It's good. They really like it. They really like it.
Yeah, I think there's, you know,
responding to it really well, aren't they?
We were very fortunate because we couldn't afford a premiere that the Rain Dance Film Festival made Scenes of a Sexual Nature the closing night film. And the advantage of that is that they paid for the premiere, and the premiere happened 3 weeks before our opening day.
I think we've had a good turnout, and we obviously another 3 weeks to go.
Everything about this film, this project, has been, well, is that the right way to do it? Just because everybody else has done it that way, why do we have to do it that way? And it's sort of been breaking the mold all the way through.
We didn't have, a few $1 million to spend on the marketing like a normal studio would have.
No, you might get 150, 200, you can't never predict that, but you might get half of them from vice versa.
What we try to do is to try and organize the world's largest blind date on the opening night of the film. One of the stories in the film is a blind date, so that was, if you like, we have a hook there to have this event.
We're doing the world's biggest ever blind date.
In the first day itself, we sold like 100 tickets. The current record for the largest blind date was something like 536 people. We had over 700 people attending this event. It was a bit chaotic because we simply couldn't handle the sheer number of people. People were queuing around the block, but I think it was a lot of fun, and people did get some great dates.
So, this is sent from our marketing director, who tried to get into the cinema at Cineworld, and he couldn't get in because it was full. Yes. We created a real buzz about this film, and we did very well in the box office. But what was really gratifying was when Sony Pictures came in and offered to do our DVD distribution in the UK.
There you go, that's exactly it, that's the one.
Sony have offered a DVD distribution deal. Hooray! These days, most money on a film is made on DVD. And now we're in a position where Sony is going to distribute the film, on DVD, but we don't have to give 30% of that to a distributor.
It was such a vindication of everything we'd been trying to achieve.
Okay guys, can I just interrupt? Sony have signed the deal memo.
And having got the film ready, rather than having agreed an early deal or tried to seek out early deals for the DVD distribution side of things, I think we were in a very good position to negotiate a very, very favourable deal for us.
We're just about to go in and have the final meeting concerning the Sony DVD deal. Exciting.
This is a great title for DVD. And I think if you're in your local Blockbuster and you walk by and see Scenes of a Sexual Nature on the shelf, you're going to want to know a little bit more about it. And I think Sony have recognised that. And the fact that the film has a stellar cast has meant that they're going to back a really big DVD release in the spring, which is a wonderful thing.
The meeting went very well. Yeah. We've taken our bags because we're retiring now based on the deal. So we're scooting off with the money.
South America.
The actual money is in that case there. But no, it went very well. Good deal. Everything is looking very bright. So very happy. We've got to go. We're going to a film festival.
There are other hills to climb. Heath's a huge place. Endless possibilities.
Something I shouldn't say, and my agents banned me from saying, is that there's something incredibly liberating about not getting paid. If you don't do it for money, you write from your heart, because it makes it feel like a hobby again. And the thing about what we do is we do it because we love it.
Start from nothing with one script and an incredibly passionate director and just go out and say, we can do this, and we did it.
It basically followed the perfect low-budget feature film rulebook. One location, 2 weeks shooting. Don't ask your actors to be in it for very many days, and it's resulted in a wonderful film. So I would say, if you're a low-budget filmmaker, follow the pattern. This is the template.
The main achievement for me has been that we have got something to the cinema, distributed ourselves, which is an impossible task. As Screen International said, it's the film equivalent of representing yourself in a courtroom. I think that is going to be the lasting legacy of this film.
We've had a ball, to be honest. The campaign for me finished about mid-November, and I was walking around like a rather sad individual for a couple of weeks afterwards. I kept saying I felt like the day after Boxing Day.
I've often walked past that where we shot, since we shot there, and go, no, that's where we did Scenes of Sexual Nature over there.
You fucking love it.
At the end of the year, one tends to look back and you sort of work out what rocked it for you. And Scenes of Sexual Nature was the thing that, was the best thing I've ever done. So what did I get out of it? Well, I got immense pride. Immense pride amongst the team who really excelled.
It's been incredible to go and see this thing that we came up with in such a small way. When I was a kid, I thought I'd be in a film, but as I got older, I realised that I didn't want to be in it, I wanted to write it. And so all those little dreams have happened, and they've come true. All those little moments that, as a sort of teenager or as a young man, I thought, wouldn't that be great if that happened one day, has been achieved.
They've sort of done the impossible, really. I think for a lot of filmmakers, that's the holy grail, to get your thing from conception to realisation on the screens, and they did it. And I think that's huge. It's huge, and I think that's what everyone else was really gunning for, to be part of.
The fact that it's all finished, that it's been in the cinemas, and it is getting very close to closure. For me, I'm starting to look back and just think, what an extraordinary time, amazing time, and I've loved it, and I've been privileged because the people I've worked with have been such fun. So I've done what I've always wanted to do, and I've done it most of the time laughing. What better way to spend 2 years of your life?